Hi everyone, okay, it's October 22nd, 2012, and I know it because it's my birthday. I am now 40. I can't believe I'm 40, and everybody keeps reminding me I'm 40, but that's okay because I keep forgetting that they were reminding me. I think it's a fringe benefit of turning 40. No, well, okay, believe it or not, here I am working on my birthday, and that's because I've been working nonstop. The things that are happening are actually just obsessing us because we're really impressed with what's going on, and several things are happening at once. First of all, the V3 and V4 are outmoded now. They have gotten hit by a double whammy, and one of those pieces is just something that comes up every so often. Google's throwing out new updates, and when they do, they change some of the rules, and when they do, that changes the way things work. And in our case, we have some updates to go through based exactly on that. And I'll give you a very simple example. Industryleaders.net, you go here. We built into the runs an outbound link to Wikipedia for the individual keyword on the page. Okay, and we did the same thing with ask. Now, this has been great for years, and people have used these for a very long time, but as of the past perhaps month, this is no longer valid and needs to be removed. And so, what we're going to be doing is advising people to rip down their V3, V4 pages, and do not forget your main page on your site if you created your main page out of one of the UAP pages. And we're going to have the new one for you soon. I mean, right now, whenever these Google updates happen, they're usually just a huge boon for SEO specialists and website developers because those guys cannot be responsible for the changes to Google make. That changes that Google makes, and neither can we. Whatever Google does new, we couldn't see it coming until Google releases it, because there's always this chat about what might happen. And then when it does, all we can do is rebound. We've done it for over 4.5 years. This is no exception. We've gone through a V1, gone through a V2, gone through a V3, gone through a V4 version based on interesting feedback. And now we've got this. Well, there have been actually like three major updates since midsummer, and that's been the Penguin, which we just soared right through. But then later, two things hit. One of them was exact match domains updates. And some people have just kind of inadvertently gotten themselves stuck in that either because they didn't do the run very well, or maybe they did the run well, but they kind of overdid it, or whatever. But in any case, or for instance, they put up the run, get a main page out of it, then they'd rip those pages down because they think, okay, that was my test, I'm going to put up a new run, but they forget to change the main page. So all these links wind up broken on the very main page of their website, and stuff like that can throw it off. So it's really hard to get an apples to apples when people say, hey, I got a lot of pages indexed and then de-indexed. I've got to leap in and dig in and see why. And some of it is exact match domains. People are going 2, 3, 4 keywords out on domain names just trying to get exact match domains. And all of you guys remember the day when everyone said make sure your domain name matched the main keyword you were after. Okay, that's changed. And all you guys trying to put an X or a Y or an S or a Z at the end of the domain name to use that domain name with an X, Y, or Z or S or something at the end. Google's aware of that stuff too, and so don't use those old style tricks. There's always tricks that become old style. Now, if you remember back to the earliest days, people used to hide keywords in the page at the bottom just to get keyword density up or keyword relationships up, and they color code the wording to match the background color of the page. There are all these things that Google used to allow, and you can't blame the player. You got to blame the game because so many people had to do it too just to keep up. Guys were able to compete unfairly. Well, when Google makes new changes that gets rid of standards like that, and one of the current ones now is don't do this sort of automated outsourcing of links, to Wikipedia or Ask or whatever. And hidden links. We've got links that have been in here since the old days. People would say, why do you have them? First answer, because they didn't affect the runs. People would still get them indexed, get them ranked, and it wouldn't hurt anyone. But the second reason that they were there was in the old days, this was a way of us to test backlinks to see how many put out would affect websites in what way. I mean, we were able to gather a lot of statistical data from that. And another piece of that was being able to see what people were doing. And that would help us understand better when people get sandboxed, when they don't, how far you can go, how far you shouldn't. And now what we want to do is create the leaner, meaner run production. MOWG isn't necessarily about just create thousands of pages all at once. It's not necessarily the point. If that's what Google's after, we can do it. But for instance, just because we can create 100,000 pages in 45 minutes if you have a fast computer, Doesn't mean you should. We have to learn how to harness our power. Well, the V5 automation that goes with the MOWG-Pro 2.7 is lean mean power. To put it in a way that might make sense, you know, politically, everyone's talking about the army doesn't need to be so huge. What it needs to be is more specifically powerful in pieces. Well, it's the same thing with Moji Run. Sometimes you want to go huge, sometimes you want to go less. And so the old thing about start a website with 5,000 to 10,000 pages, add 1,000 a week, isn't necessary. You might think this way instead because this is kind of the direction we're going to go. More training on it later. Take the number of geo targets you have times the number of keywords you have and then multiply by 10. Things like that, and that's per website. Okay, and then whenever you want to do another run, either change some of the geo targets or the keywords and do another run. You know, and so this is called micromanaging at levels that are low and then building up from there to see how far you can get before it's too far. And we'll give feedback on that anyway as we put out the new templates and see just how far Google lets a single run go. But so the first hit to the V3, V4 was exactly that. Google's just updating their standards, and so we have to update ours. Okay, which is nothing new. We've done it for years, and this isn't even particularly hard. A lot of it's based on things like links. So we're going to be telling people get rid of the whole master and site slave master slave relationship of backlinking your own pages because it's just too automated. You can put in some links manually into top level pages after you do a run. If you want to create a backlink, you can create it on your main page. You can create a backlink on this page. You can create a backlink on that page. So you got a few on the main level pages after you get the run up. But you still got to put the run up and make it powerful. And even 100 pages can be as powerful as 1,000. Depends on your thing, what you're putting out, and the SEO on the page carries you. And having a website with 100, 200, 500, 1,000 pages is much larger than most people's and much stronger than most people's anyway. So this is not a particularly tough update. It's just we have to do it. Okay, that's the first whammy to the V3, V4. So we're telling people don't keep making more V3, V4 sites. We're going to rip those out of the MOWG training and put up a V5 for you guys to use instead if you're using our stuff. For those of you who are doing custom runs for clients or yourself, you're not relying on these templates, these pre-cut example templates that we hand you. And we'll probably come out with more soon. Some people want to do that anyway on the forums, and they might, but I would say don't do it on the V3, V4 content. If you're using the same content just on different templates, you know, wait until we get our V5 out so you have a better version, or just create your own. Some guys just know how to adjust this stuff on their own. Guys doing custom runs, just study up on the latest SEO requirements that Google wants and just follow those new rules. Okay, what's the second whammy? The second whammy is this. We're celebrating, the expiration basically of the efficacy of this thing because there are circa 50 million UAP pages out there now that are based on the V3, V4 template with this content, okay? All of this content. All right, all this stuff. And so with all this stuff in play, the way it is on a template, you really can't go more than 50 million web pages spun on a single spun article like this. Even if it's on multiple websites, you know, sooner or later, with 50 million pages out there, and some of them have static words in the HTML, like this, I think, might always be this. You know, that might always be that. These are headers, and so they really indicate where they are on the page, and that's okay with Google. Like we said, you could get very far with it. In 50 million web pages, yes, that's called getting very far with it. This thing lasted like 6 months, okay? Now, what it means though is the double whammy is now, even if you're changing your keywords and geo targets to other stuff, the majority of this web page still feels like duplicates according to Google because it's seeing probably all the combinations now, all the major combinations that would come up. The variant verbiage used here has been used in so many combinations, all these combinations exist with 50 million web pages, okay? All of these combinations that go with this thing exist, right? All of these and these, you know, Google's seen the combinations over and over and over again, and it's just at a point where you can't keep going with the same template, right? And that's the worst thing about public templates is so many people use them. When guys do custom runs, they never run into problems like a template getting old and needing to be redone simply because there's so many pages out there. Most guys never create 50 million web pages on any run at all. 50 million's huge. The most I've ever seen guys even push for is like a million. And as we know, that's overkill. I mean, even creating 100,000 or 150,000 inside of a month can get you sandboxed. And so that's just too many, too fast, too much. And there's really no call for it. But when you have so many people using the same template, you can do things like finally hit 50 million web pages in 6 months. And that's what we did. So the V5's been rewritten and in the act of rewriting it, and it's not finished yet, but because I still got to go through all the VARs. This thing is cool. I want to bust that 50 million barrier so I don't have to come back to this in 6 months for anybody. And so all of this is getting VAR'd out so heavily. Even this thing is going to be VAR'd. This is keyword for geo-target. This is going to be VARs. All of this is VAR'd. Every one of these are VARs, but they're going to go further. The VARs here. All of this is VAR'd out, including all of these headers. These are going to be VAR'd out, and all of this content is actually rewritten. I literally started with a whole new article to form this page. I'm going to finish getting this stuff VAR'd out too. Okay, you don't see it here because I'm not done with the sheet, and therefore back to this page. I got to match it up, match it up, match it up. Then build in all the SEO stuff without it being so intense. We need to bring the keyword density down. So probably instead of a var2, var201, var204, we might just have a var2, or we'll have the var2, var201, var204, but there won't be so many var2s in here as the basis, that kind of thing. So we got to bring the keyword density down, bring the bolding down, all that kind of thing. Pop-ups have to be better. Gone are all of the hidden links, all of the internal links on the page. There's nowhere in there, not even the stack counter coding. If you put up your own, put up your own. Make sure to take out that no script block from the stack counter coding, because when they send it to you, it has a no script section in it, and you want to kill that. You want to remove that because that can harm your rank. And stack counter's doing it because it's always been done, but it acts like a broken CSS call. It acts like a hidden link using a broken CSS call, and it's not appropriate. And so it's wiser to take that thing out if you're going to use your own stack counter coding. I have it out in the standard anyway, and we just have ours in there for seeing anything until people update and use their own. But there are no links to us anymore. No links pointing at anything or anyone, because we're going to rethink that, and we may just not use them at all. Now, for people saying, well, if you aren't backlinking, isn't that going to harm you? And the answer is not for us. We do runs that target longer tail keywords to start with and rely on the strength of the site to earn its way up the ladder. But when you think other guys are backlinking and we aren't, I'll tell you what's changed. Google, when they make big algorithmic changes that are internet-wide applicable for everyone and everything, everyone has to rip out their Wikipedia links. Everyone has to rip out their Ask links. Everyone has to rip out all the stuff that they had that were just the easy gimme things that used to allow them competitive advantage unfairly. In other words, you had to blame the game, not the player. Everyone did it because that's kind of what Google let you do and how it worked. But when people have to take that stuff out, so many of them don't know what to do anymore. They don't know how to do it right. Many of them don't know how to take it out. Many of them don't know how to update their pages. And a lot of people don't even know this is happening. Okay? And so that's a game changer for us because, and we've seen that over and over again. Over the past 4 years, MOWG ranks better, more efficiently, faster, for more stuff, and even for some really big killer keywords for guys who are dedicated to particular projects. All because whenever Google finally makes these changes over the past few years, they've been tightening down on more and more bad practices, and they're still tightening down on bad practices that they used to allow, that we used to have to use too. But when they tighten that stuff down, then our pages start to rank properly and outrank other guys more automatically because we know how to do this stuff right. There are a lot of guys who will say Google doesn't like automated content. That's incorrect. If you look at eBay, most of those pages are pre-filled with automated content. So people upload their own titles, their own descriptions, their own images. But nonetheless, those pages are all based on a single template, a single style, or a handful of them. And that's automated content. If you think that Google expects people to sit and hand type all their content anymore, they don't. Big news stations create versions of pages that mix and match different things. Like, for instance, if you want to go to the political section, it'll pre-fill all the political links of the day. If you want to go to the sports section, it'll pre-fill all the sports links. But if you go to the top news items, you're going to see a lot of the same links in different groupings. Okay, and so there's a right way to do stuff and a wrong way to do stuff. And Cafe Press, same thing. Those pages are auto-generated. They're generated with new titles, new descriptions, new T-shirts, or whatever it is, new designs for the T-shirts. But this stuff is auto-produced. And MOWG, for over 4.5 years, has been running on automated content, okay, generation. And there's still sites 4 years old that are still ranking, and we showed you guys that. So anyway, that's not a problem. Go ahead and toss that out of your mind. But whenever you hit about 50 million pages with one HTML/CSV file combination, which is what the UAP is, we handed you an HTML file with a CSV file and said go make versions of it. There's only about 50 million pages you can get out of that total before it's time to create a new one. That's easy. But we're doing it, and so we're getting through, and we're going to have this thing done, hopefully by Friday. And for all you guys on the monthly, like the $297 a month runs, I'm going to be ripping down all the old content from the sites and putting up all the new content, because I got to rip down the old content. Google wants to see new stuff now. And so we got to take down everything that would seem offensive according to today's standards and recreate. Don't worry, I'll recreate to catch you up, complete with the total number of pages that you should have, and I'll throw in some more to make up for the distance. But appropriately, I got to watch it too, because, if you're getting runs on me, they're all going on my referral site. So I can't just go hog wild. I've got to release it appropriately. So I'll be doing that. Maybe this coming weekend I'll be able to get all that finished. What I have to do is finish this V5 first with all the new content. Google doesn't care if the template looks the same. That's not interesting to Google. What's interesting to Google is the verbiage on the page. And that's why we needed new content. We needed a new article to plug into this template. Guys who want to create new templates, go ahead. I actually started to gather some templates that I'll probably get playing with later. So these are just testers, different sorts of templates I thought were kind of interesting for our purposes. And so it's kind of hard. I've got to, pick and choose what makes sense, but templates like this can be filled with the same or new content. And as long as it's not V3, V4 content, it's got to be V5 content. So it's new. But this can be your menu links over here. Nothing stops you. This can stay in or go out. This can be the image, except that we might move this down, that kind of thing. It takes some work, but we can pull it off. So all this stuff can be made into new templates. And there's so many versions of new templates. You can start with things that you would never have thought of and work forward from there. Usually it's like, I forget which of the pages I got to go through and identify. But there's all these different ways of pulling it off. That's not one. Because it doesn't have enough room for content. Usually I'm looking for the About Us page, not like a Contact Us page. I've got to start with a page that is built in such a way that you can add content to it. This is great because I can take this and I can keep copying the paragraphs going down. I can expand this so that this thing becomes 800 to 1200 words on this whole page, that kind of thing, and make it into a proper page. But again, it's got to have a conversion action. So what I'm looking for is something that doesn't have many images in it until you get to a certain place where the image is the banner. That's what I'm looking for V5 purposes. Different than custom runs. If I was doing a MOWG run on this website for these people, it would have a different purpose. It would be kind of like landing pages that people land on that give them a reason to click to their home page, or their About Us page, or their contact page, or their Read More link. Different purpose. But for the V5, it's got to be a cut and dried page, basically with one image and a lot of content, and then just some way of putting links on the page. So anyway, there are all these different designs and ideas. I could go on forever. And sometimes you see things you can start with you wouldn't have thought about. I'm not sure which is the About Us page. No, that's Contact Us. But, I kind of like this. I want to move this to the center, maybe expand the width out. Then obviously, whatever we have for all the wild zone, all the imagery here can be replaced with anything. So that's not an issue. All by itself, it's not an issue at all. But again, I need a page that basically has one place where you'd plug in an image. I can take the top image out altogether and rearrange this text and stretch this out and center it so that this image can be bigger, and yet there's still room for print and there's still room for other links throughout the site. All that stuff. Anyway, that's up and coming, and you guys can do that on your own if you want. Biggest thing I want to show you on the way out the door, because this is it too. Man, God, this 2.7 has gotten severely easy. Let me just give you a preview of where we're going with it. All right, I've got a V5 Geo and a no Geo. These are going to look really different when you open them. Pretty much I moved everything you don't need to touch normally into a system folder. Okay, so everything in here, like your PFL file, is in here, and you can change them, and you can keep copies of your profiles in here. Here's your model page. So if you want to go in here and edit this thing, you can change your stack counter link and all that stuff at the bottom. Do anything you want to do. Okay, so that's all there. And what I mean by the no script is this ends with the end of the script tag, but there is no more no script blah 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 before this final piece. Okay, when you generate a stack counter coding, you'll see a no script tag in here. It'll be like no script. All right, and then it'll have all this stuff. Okay, that's really about advertising them until you get to no script. Okay, in the old days, this was cool. This was a backlink, and it was a powerful one, and we used it. I used it to get Website Marketing Solutions onto page 2 out of over 1 billion results for website marketing. But this was a hidden link. Okay, it was invisible on the page. You could not see it. No human could see it. That's no longer allowed. So always delete those no scripts. Whenever you generate a new code snippet from Stack Counter, manually delete that no script tag. And when you do it, then this will still work anyway. It will work right, and that's okay. So we already proved it works right. Okay? That's what I want you to know about that. Aside from that, we have some new automation pieces in here, and I'll just show you in a nutshell. And I'll come out with a training later, but here's really how easy this has become. There's a step 1, step 2, and then a step 3. And then there's a step 3 variation for 32-bit computers. You would hit this one instead of that if you're on a 32-bit computer, right? That means your MOWG-Pro is installed in the Program Files folder instead of the Program Files x86 folder. Okay, and then finally there's just a simple maintenance batch file, and all it does is dump your old runs. So if you have like a bunch of runs like these and you hit that, it just gets rid of it. Away it goes. And when you do the next run, it'll create the runs folder and keep it up. And that just keeps this thing from bogging down so it doesn't take up tons of space in your computer. How easy is it to do a run now? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 3 does everything, including updating your project folders on your profiles. It's actually going to create your new profiles and batch files and auto run them completely for you. So what would you do? Let me show you. I've got a page, and I'm just going to put on it a bunch of stuff. I'm going to say the production name is this, and I'm writing it as though I'm doing it for a client, but I can do it for myself. Here's the name of the production. Here's what I'm going to call it, right? Choose this for that keyword, that we have at the top of the page, right? And just to make sure you guys know what I mean, okay? If I go back to industry leaders, okay? Top choice blankety blank, industryleaders.net. That's what I put in there for this thing, right? And if we do the Christopher Says pages, just to see that, you guys remember this? Okay, and you go to where related, and you go to any one of those pages in there. Okay, that's what it says. The homeopathic alternative, right? For this, choose the homeopathic alternative. So that's what the production name is, okay? For this, choose whatever, Acme House Washing. Obviously a fake run. Your destination URL is either going to be the direct link, the page you want to point people to. It can be anything starting with http://. It can be a ClickBank hop link. It can be a tiny URL. As long as it starts with http://, it can be any link that will come up if you visit it on a browser. Or if you want to do the redirect, use the full path to the redirect file. Okay, that means http:// yourdomain.com or .net or .org or whatever / related V5 files is now what we're calling this. Instead of MOWG-V3 files or MOWG-V4, we're just calling it related V5 files. Guys, we're just asking, can we get MOWG out of there as a word? not that Google cares, but it does erase a footprint by just doing something new. But beyond that, there are people who are just saying people are going to reverse engineer and find out it's you and go around me and go straight to you. And it's it's hard to imagine that people do that. I've never had people do it that way, but we just went ahead and updated it for people. And then this is the actual redirect.html page I'm going to use. Okay, so let's say I created it. This is it. And if I click it, this is it. This is that homewashing.html redirect page, right? So if I click it, I have it set to go where I want it to go, this guy's page. Okay, what else do I have? I have my image, like home washing PNG, right? My big banner image, right? We know we need something for a banner image. We go create it or use something from Google Images, anything that suits. Okay, as so they click that image to get to that page. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't want to use your own, you can just use our catch-all image. That's what you would enter into the box when on the form, and you'll see where we're going in a minute. Now what? I got some geo targets because I'm just using the geo target version of this run. And I got keywords 10 to 100, and I'm using these. Now this is a whole new fake run, okay? And what I mean by that is if I look at the var sheet, I was using different stuff. Okay, I just happen to have the same geo targets, but I was using window washing terms. So this is all window washing, window cleaning, window cleaners, window whatever it is. And so when you get to the end, window washing, window cleaners, window whatever it is, right? But the one I'm going to do is different. So how do you do a new run now? And think about how easy this is if somebody sends you the information or the finished var sheet and you drag it in. You're going to see what we're going to do. So the first thing I want to do is this. I would open, I could open step 1 to learn all this stuff I need to do. But let's just start. I'm going to open step 2. And I'm just going to start entering. It's got cool little notes that help you understand what this stuff is for to make sure you don't screw anything up. And yes, you can send this form to other people to fill in as long as you also send the .map file and the var sheet, whatever the var sheet is, in that same folder. So if I wanted to create a version that I could send to someone else, send to a client, I could say for a client, I could say anything, input, details, whatever. Okay, then I would do this, make a copy of that, this, and that. Just copy them, put them in here. Yes, you can rename this, you can rename that, and you can rename that because this will look for the CSV file in this folder. There can only be one. And it will use the map file that's in this folder. There can only be one. So now a guy can click on this thing, someone else, some potential client or prospect can click on it, open it, take his time to fill the stuff in the way he wants and hit submit. That updates this right here, the var sheet. Then he emails that to you. And if he wants a custom image that he might have had, he can email you the custom image too. And the name of the image is what he would put into the form. And that's what it tells you, image file with the file extension and no spaces like my-image.jpg. If no image, comma, enter this, best-provider.jpg, which is exactly what I was saying. That's just the default image name right now. You could call it anything else you want, as long as everyone knows what it is. Okay, and that's what it is in this case. And yes, you can change all the verbiage and all the routine of this thing. That's what's cool about it. So then they enter their city states because that's what we're assuming. We're sending them a form for the geo targeted, the V5 geo. But there is a V5 no geo too. That's the same stuff except without geo targeting. And the keywords. And it tells them 100 max, minimum 10 required. That's just to make sure they don't send you lists so big that your pages are going to have lots of broken links or anything like that. We don't want broken links. Okay, but a minimum of 10, and it says so. So anyway, let's see how this goes. Here's how a run is going to be for you now. And let's just pretend he sent this to me in an email, or I can fill this form out myself. Let me just show you how this acts. All right, step 2, I'm going to show you a run, and not just that, I'm going to show you something serious about it. I'm going to paste this here for the production name. Destination link, I'm just going to, okay, I'm going to use my own redirect. That's what I'm going to use. Here's the full path. Now the guy would just put in his own link. Okay, the image, I need this for the image. Okay, city states, I've got that right here. This is where I want all this for. You can use commas or not, it doesn't matter. And keywords, I want to use keywords. Guys, I'm actually doing not just one run, but there are going to be 10 profiles, and the pages are going to be done across the profiles. Let me submit, and it's done. Now, guess what that means? I just did the first step. My var sheet is caught up with all the new information, okay? Except, oh, I should have changed that. I do need to change that, don't I? And I may as well just change it here now. You can still do that, right? MOWG-samples.com. You know, and of course the guy would have put in his own, well, the guy would have just put in his own page to point to. He wouldn't have created a redirect link. You would do that on your own. What now? Here's what else. I know I want to use this image for the run. Guess what? I'm just going to pull it right in here. I don't even care where it lands. It can land right there and smack in the middle of everything. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to pull in this redirect file in my case because I want to use this redirect file like I was saying. And yes, it's okay if it just lands smack in the middle of everything.